I rise today to announce that May is National Bike Month. I almost forgot to do this as an avid cyclist, but since we are here today, I want to take a minute to just talk about why Bike Month is important to me. First of all, I've been biking since I was 5 years old. I remember when my uncle bought me my first bike. He was about to go to the Navy, and I love my uncle, Sam. He's still living, and he bought me my first bike, and then my aunt gave me my first set of training wheels, and then my grandmother made me take them off when I turned 6. And I've been biking ever since. When I was a kid, I used to sneak off. It was, all of us when we're kids, we can be a little mischievous. And for me, it was my bike. I would take my bike and I would ride miles and miles and miles away when I was 14 and 15 years old. And my mom had no idea where I was going. And I would go through all parts of Chicago that were segregated. And people would look at me crazy, and I didn't care. I didn't care. And I would bike all the way out to the northern suburbs, 30, 40 miles away when I was 15 years old. And so National Bike Month, I felt like, is an affirmation for people who love the freedom of movement, who love the freedom of exploration, who love to break down boundaries, and who love to exercise, right? And that's what so much of cycling means for me personally. I represent a district where we have so many people who cycle, individuals, moms and dads with kids on their bike, and we even have grandparents out there cycling these days. In fact, Senator Preston's new chief of staff talked about how his grandfather, former Senator Howard Brookins, is 90 years old and is still cycling. And so this is an opportunity to celebrate everybody that loves two wheels and sometimes even three wheels. And I also want to take a minute to lift up Major Taylor, who was a famous black cyclist who lived over 100 years ago. Major Taylor grew up in Chicago, lived on the south side of Chicago, and was competing in the Olympics as a cyclist back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He endured all kind of racism and all kind of marginalization, but he never lost focus on his cycling. He never lost focus on what it meant to compete and what it meant to win. And his bike is what gave him that sense of just personal mission. So let's celebrate Major Taylor. He's also got a trail named after him on the south side of Chicago. If any of you here are cyclists, I encourage you to visit the Major Taylor Trail. It's wonderful. We're trying to get that trail extended, and so some of you here might be able to help with that. And let's take a minute to also honor all those cyclists that we've lost, unfortunately, to traffic violence. That's a big part of why I've tried to move legislation in this body to make our roadways safer for pedestrians and cyclists, just like the bill we just passed last night, Senate Bill 899, bipartisan legislation. And so, of course, Senator Fowler just handed me a piece of paper and says that we should make cycling the official state exercise. So he actually filed the bill in 2018. So thank you, Senator, for pointing that out to me. I was not aware of that. And Madam President, again, I just want to take the opportunity to celebrate National Bike Month, and thank you for recognizing me today. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to keep up to date with news from the caucus. For more information on what the senator is working on, please follow them on social media using the links in the description down below.